Good evening and welcome. My name is Jason Barker, and I'm a Fire Battalion Chief for the City of Dixon Fire Department. Thank you for coming. I'm here tonight to discuss with you the community risk reduction process and what we can do for you, the City of Dixon Community Risk Reduction and Fire Prevention Bureau. But first of all, a little bit about me. I've been with the City of Dixon for 21 years, a total of 31 years in the fire service, and likewise I've been serving as a paramedic for 31 years. I am literally and figuratively the old man of Dixon Fire. So let's look at the slides. Community risk reduction is a mandate of the fire service. So tonight we're going to look at defining the issues for the City of Dixon Fire Department, discuss ways community risk reduction is needed, talk about some case studies where community risk reduction failures killed both firefighters and civilians, and look at a plan of action to make our community risk reduction in the City of Dixon better. So a little bit about the city that we serve and the problems we have. As you see, we do not have an adequate fire prevention bureau or community risk reduction program. For years, it's been a single person. I was a fire captain. In the early 2000s, it transitioned to a chief officer position, but the bulk of most of the fire prevention and fire inspection duties have fallen upon the individual engine companies. When we look at our city in the 2020 census, there's about 18,000 people in the city proper. Our overall service area, direct protection, is about 25,000 people. They're averaging 3 people per household, and in those 6,000 housing units we have, and 60% of those are single family, single owner owned homes. What's unique about us is about 35% of those homes has a non-English speaker or the non-English speaking households. So we do have that need for multilingual, bilingual training and opportunities for us to interact with the community. Over 8% of the people in Dixon have high school diplomas. About 19% have a college degree or better, with bachelor's degree or better. The median income is $80,000, but the per capita income in town is $30,000, with a poverty level just under about 8%. The fire department itself, we just celebrated our 150th anniversary. We started out as a humble, horse-drawn, hand-cart, bucket brigade fire department, and we served the community over the years. This transition from an all-volunteer force to one person on duty, day on mechanic, to 2 people on, to where we are today with 21 career firefighters. We operate out of one station with 2 fire companies, usually 3 to 4 people each. Each of our fire companies has a paramedic on board, whether it be a firefighter or engineer. We've been providing advanced life support to the city since 2001 when I was hired. I was one of the original paramedics. The city itself is about 4 square miles, but our entire direct protection area, the Dixon Fire Protection District, is over 330 square miles, one of the largest fire districts in Solano County. We're all risk. What I mean by all risk, we have members on the county hazmat team. We respond to wildland fires, both local and statewide. We are a type 2 FEMA urban search and rescue team qualified. We respond to all types of fires, all types of medical emergencies, traffic collisions, anything that the modern fire department does, we do here in Dixon. As you can see in the graphic, majority of our calls in 2001 were medical emergencies, about 59%, which is kind of low compared to the national average of 80 to 85% of fire departments responding to medical emergencies. We do have a diverse community, we do have a challenging community to respond to, and medical emergencies make a major portion of what we respond to, but we have other challenges that we have to respond to. So community risk reduction, investing in the community's safety. So community risk reduction is not cheap. We have to hire staff. We have to be able to produce results. Example, California Senate Bill 1250 decided that we needed to report that we did all these mandatory inspections. And that falls upon the fire companies, which takes away from their ability to train, plus they're running calls. Our average call volume has gone up 8% over the last 3 years for each year, with about 3,000 calls for service. That's an average of about 8.5 calls a day, which takes away from the time for us to do inspections. And inspections take away from the time for us to train and prepare for those emergencies. But why is community risk reduction? Well, number one, inspection programs required by law. Like I said, the California Senate bill talks about the mandatory requirements for inspecting, say, schools, multifamily dwellings, apartments, and other institutions, and plus assemblies where people go to have fun, bars, nightclubs, etc. Those are all required inspections annually, and we have to report to the city that we completed those inspections. One of the bigger things we can find with the community risk, we can find and correct code violations. A little code violation here and there can add up to a big problem, and I'll talk about that when we look at some case studies. Our life safety is important. Our lives and the citizens' lives. With the code enforcement program, the inspection program, we can identify weaknesses in building construction, weaknesses in fire protection systems. So not only can we help save the citizens' lives, we can protect the firefighters that are trying to serve their community. Can reduce the physical impacts. If a business catches on fire, they lose their money. We lose tax revenue. It can become a blight. Just look at Detroit, for example. You know, when all the auto dealers, manufacturers left Detroit, that city fell into ruins. We don't want that happening in Dixon. And because of that, they have a great big fire problem in that town. You know, ideally, our fire protection program and community risk reduction will help build goodwill between us and the businesses. And lastly, it's an opportunity for our firefighters to get out and look in those buildings and learn about the buildings and kind of a training exercise, a pre-plan for an incident. Some of the examples we can, things we can find when we do the fire inspections, you can see the unreinforced masonry of downtown Dixon. You can see the makeshift building construction using a hydraulic jack. And then we also identify some of our target hazards, one of our local department stores, which, by the way, if you ever need anything in the world, he probably has it in there. It also, like I said, adding 2,500 new homes. So we have an opportunity to go out and look at how buildings are constructed, determine what kind of hose loads we need, and what does that bring to us as a community. That brings all those families, average of 3 people per home. All those people need places to shop. So we're going to have a lot of infill with commercial and retail support for all those businesses, of those businesses support all those people. So the first one we're going to talk about as far as failures of community risk reduction and fire inspection program would be the ghost ship fire. It was all over the news. It was the warehouse in Oakland where people were partying in an illegal rave, caught fire, killed multiple people. The city of Oakland ended up paying money because they failed to catch these things on inspections. So number one, we have our priority to save people's lives and to protect people, and when we fail like this, we become fiscally liable. So the ghost ship fire is an example of a failure of community risk reduction and fire inspection and prevention that killed civilians. The next one is a fire in Hackensack, New Jersey, July 1, 1998. Doesn't seem that long ago until you think about it. It's pretty long ago. But a 60-ton bowstring truss roof. So imagine a bow and arrow, and that's holding up a roof, and the string breaks, and what happens to that bow and arrow? It goes like this, the building collapses. Well, it killed firefighters. But because of that situation, the state of New Jersey created fire codes and fire laws that placarded. They put signs on those buildings saying, be careful, there's this construction here, don't go under if it's on fire. Firefighters began doing training in building construction, and they started conducting building inspections and pre-planning. So our action plan, our keys to change for us, you know, we need to educate the policymakers and our stakeholders being you guys. When I say stakeholders, you have a stake in what we do, because what we do supports you and makes you safer and a better community. We do data collection. We identify the legal mandates. Like I said, the California Senate Bill 1205. We need to identify some funding sources. Permit inspection fees are one source to fund the fire prevention group. It can become a standalone entity just by collecting fees for inspections. Retain current or temporary staff, recruit new qualified staff, create internship positions, educational positions, and help grow the community of the fire service while we help save and protect the city of Dixon. So in summary, Dixon has had an understaffed fire prevention program for years. It was originally, like I said, a suppression officer. He was a fire captain who was also responding to calls. Mind you, back then, they're only running about 1,200 calls. Now add another 2,200 calls to that, 3,000 calls a year. You can see why that becomes the problem with having a fire company officer do the inspections. One moment, the guys have a call to go to. Soon after, the city operated and added a chief officer position as the fire marshal, and it's currently, he was the only one doing fire inspections and fire prevention and code enforcement. Currently, the limited term fire inspector and the fire marshal, and the city has been contracted to a private company, paying out a lot of money for them to conduct the inspections of the new homes being built. So we need to solve the problem. The Dixon Fire Department does not have an adequate fire prevention program to serve the citizens and the community. What can we do about it? Thank you for your time. Any questions?